Hey, I'm Doug McAllister for Journey Fellowship Church, and I want to tell you a story. As you know, we just got back from our sabbatical. Miss Rachel and I were gone for the month of February. So I'm going to tell you a series of stories over the next few weeks, things that we did and learned and fun that we had and things we discovered along the way. So today I want to tell you a story about a sign that I came across in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. We stayed for a month in Pigeon Forge, which is only about 5 miles from Gatlinburg. So I was walking the streets of Gatlinburg one day and I came across this sign. But before I tell you about the sign, let me tell you why it was important to me. I got to take you all the way back to 1974. So we're going back quite a few years, 50 years ago almost. My mom and dad bought me a tape recorder, a little self-contained tape recorder. And if you remember those, it was the kind of tape recorders that would use a cassette. You slide the cassette in, close the lid, and you have to press 2 buttons to record. That's how old this technology was. But it was a great little gift, man, because I would kind of create my own music and stories there myself. So we lived out in the country, and the cassette player operated on battery. So I took it out to the backyard and I'm sitting there and I had just heard the song, Rocky Top, Tennessee, which is a bluegrass kind of a song. But it was like the top of the charts. I think even on the Billboard, it went to the top 10. It was just a catchy tune about a small town in Tennessee. So the first time I ever recorded my voice was on that little cassette player, and I kept that cassette for decades. In fact, I think I lost it during Hurricane Katrina's flood. I think we lost that somewhere in that transition, either during the flood or in the move after the flood, so I can't find the tape anymore. But I would sing that whole song, Rocky Top, you'll always be home sweet home to me. And it was sort of like my little, jingle that I would sing, especially by myself. I wish I had that tape today. Not that I could sing, I can't, but just because it was, back in my childhood. So I'm walking down, let's fast forward now to this year. I'm walking down the streets in Gatlinburg, and there's an old motel there called the Gatlinburg Inn, which has been there for generations. I think it goes back maybe even the time when they incorporated the national park, like 100 years ago. But it's still there, still operational. So I stopped and I read the little plaque on a pole outside of the motel. And it's a story of where the song Rocky Top was written. And I was intrigued because I love that song so much. So I stopped and I read the sign. I took a picture of the sign, and it's not a really good picture. It's not a good job in photography and lighting, so you can't read the whole thing. But I'll show you the picture of the plaque that's outside of the Gatlinburg Inn of the story of how the song Rocky Top where it was written and how it came to be. So there are 2 songwriters who were well known in the songwriting business, and you may have heard their songs. They wrote for some pretty well known artists. They wrote "Raining in My Heart" for Buddy Holly. They wrote the Everly Brothers hit "Bye Bye Love." They wrote "Wake Up Little Susie." They wrote "Country Boy Weekend." It had like a list of hits. But Archie Campbell, who was a singer at that time, was on Hee Haw. And boy, I'm telling some really old, that's a really old sentence right there. But if you remember Hee Haw, it was like the Saturday country bluegrass festival show. Is an hour long. It was syndicated nationally every Saturday. Well, Archie Campbell was one of the regular stars on the show, and he was getting toward the golden years of his life, and he wanted to do a golden years album. So he contacted this couple, the Bryants, and asked them if they would write some songs for him, country songs that he could put on his next album. And one of the songs that they wrote was Rocky Top, and they were in Gatlinburg, which they went every year. They stayed at the same little inn, Gatlinburg Inn, and that year they stayed in room 388. And in room 388 in the Gatlinburg Inn in the 1970s, early 70s, the Bryants wrote Rocky Top. I'm not sure if Archie ever recorded the song, but another band called the Osborne Brothers, not to be confused with Brothers Osborne, which is a modern-day country group. In fact, that's the reason why Brothers Osborne has the name that they have, because the Osborne Brothers was already taken. They date back to the early 20th century. Well, they were a huge country bluegrass duo or band, and they recorded Rocky Top, and it went to the top of the charts. That song has stayed now in Tennessee culture for the last 50 years. It's embedded itself. In fact, if you go to a Volunteers football game, one of the largest stadiums in America, Neyland Stadium in Knoxville, where the Volunteers play football, that is their theme song. You'll hear them play Rocky Top, Tennessee, every football game in Knoxville. It's their theme song. Not only that, it's the state song for Tennessee. You know, the legislature there a few years ago decided to make that their state theme song. But more than anything, it's just in the culture. It's in the lore of Tennessee, mountain living. You know, Rocky Top, you'll always be home sweet home to me. Good old Rocky Top, Tennessee. Ironically, it's a fictional place. It doesn't even exist. You know, but it is written about all the little Rocky Tops around Tennessee where people actually do live, and it captures the culture of mountain people. Once two strangers climbed old Rocky Top looking for some moonshine stills. The strangers ain't never come down from Rocky Top, reckon they never will. That's a story about some moonshiners taking out some people from the Treasury Department, some people looking from the government to take over moonshine. But it goes back 100 years before, during Prohibition, and when the revenuers were trying to shut down the stills. And it's just a story of a small town living, and trying to get by and, make a life in the mountains. So anyway, I stopped that day on the street in Gatlinburg, right in front of the Gatlinburg Inn, and took that picture. But I had a moment, I relived there, standing there in the sunshine when I was 12 years old, sitting in my backyard with the little tape recorder my mom and dad had bought me for Christmas, singing Rocky Top. And it was like the universe made a complete circle and came back to itself. It was just a special moment for us, and it was just a great memory. And I want to tell you the story today. So that's how Rocky Top came to be. And hope you enjoyed the story. I'm Doug McAllister for Journey Fellowship Church. And if you want to know more about us, check us out at jf.church or download the Journey Fellowship Church app. For Journey, I'm Doug. Have a great day.